everybody. Welcome. I'm Howie Howard from Mr. Furious Records. Today on Dat Fury Radio, the best music we heard in 2024 with a couple of special guests. Royce Diamond from the Long Play Listening Party, Random Acts of Music Studio, my personal friend. What's going on, Royce?
What is up? Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's good to see you. And Rob Spectre, straight out of New York City, representing the punk scene. What's going on, Rob?
Yo, what's shaking, boys? Good to see you. It's been a while since we've done this.
It has been a minute. Lots of great music has come out since we talked last and this year. And I don't know, Rob, I feel like you've probably got a good list queued up. Do you want to kick off the proceedings with a couple of your favorites?
Well, I think I have like a lot of different categories for what I heard this year. And for being, for the past 2 years, I felt we have had just bumper crops of records. And this year felt very much like an elevation from what we had even the previous 2 years, which is insane to me. I think that just the costs have gone down so far. We're just getting so much quality music from so many different places. It's been a really exciting year. I think at the beginning of it, I was a little concerned about generative AI and its impact on the quality of what we're hearing. But there were so many great bands that I got turned on to this year, many of which are brand new, which I was super stoked on. One in particular was Unfair Fair. It's all one word, UNFUNFAIR. The first track that you want to hear is In the Court of the Goblin King. And it is absolutely hilarious how progressive music has suddenly become quite a bit less self-serious. Like, still extremely technical, still extremely like high level of musicianship, but it doesn't have near the like getting drunk on the smell of your own farts kind of sound that like Dream Theater has.
Sure.
They're having fun while playing very difficult music.
Is that kind of a King Gizzard influence, do you think?
A little bit. I like King Gizzard a lot. Like, I went to the shows at Forest Hills this year, and they were really, really good. That band is terrific live, like really terrific. But also just not. I never got into like Rush, and I never got into like Dream Theater because they're just so over the top, into themselves kind of thing, and
not really your vibe.
No, the introduction of comedy, but like the same level of musicianship has been a real welcome change for that scene. So I have to recommend Unfair Affair. All the songs are like 6 minutes long, or 8 minutes long, or 10 minutes long. So kind of like Opeth level like length. But they're all just deeply, deeply funny.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to check that out. I haven't really... King Gizzard is a nut I haven't really cracked yet. And I'm not sure if that's... I don't want to take that comparison too far. That's me saying something having not heard this band, but...
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard? Is that
yeah.
Gizzard and the Lizard
That's what I'm
Wizard.
talking about.
Yeah,
they've been around probably 10 or 12 years now, and they do... they put out like 3, 4, 5, 6 albums a year in all different styles. I mean, their discography is at least 30 albums deep at this point, and just super prolific and expansive, just all over the place.
Yeah, the
genre wise.
Yeah, there is no genre. They play whatever it is they want to play.
Okay.
The track that you want to start with them is Work This Time. And it's just terrific.
Okay.
Like a
maybe you can throw that.
Band.
Rob generously offered to make the Spotify playlist for what we're discussing, so maybe you can throw in King Gizzard, even if it's not a release from this year.
Well, we will say it's a 10-year anniversary track that we'll have.
There we go.
Okay.
It's nice. From the 2014 record Oddments, which front to back is pretty tasty, I have to say.
So first pick, Unfun Fair. You want to make another pick?
One that I was really looking at for this session is trying to find, something from a major label that still was worth listening to. And the Orville Peck duet record, Stampede, this year was really crazy. The track that I think you should start on is Cowboys Are Frequently Secretly Fond of Each Other, and that's a duet with Willie Nelson, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I can confirm that's an excellent song.
It's a terrific song. Nathaniel Rateliff's on it. Noah Cyrus is on it. Allison Russell's on it. Elton John is on it.
What is the name of this song again?
It's Cowboys Are Frequently Secretly Fond of Each Other. Orville Peck, of course, coming hot off of his Columbia release, which was one of my favorite records that year, called Bronco. This one's on Warner Brothers, and it's very good. Like, it's the kind of thing that can kind of only happen in a major label setting, but it's very subversive and super gay, which is hilarious. I just love it, and having what I think is probably the best new voice in country music. With all of these, classic voices that you come to associate with the genre, I think was a real cool juxtaposition. And I'm glad it's the kind of record that can still happen in 2024.
Nice.
Very good. Good picks. Royce, are you ready, or should I make a couple?
Yeah, I can give you one. The song is called Don, featuring Esperanza Spalding. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar?
Yeah, she's a bassist and I think multi-instrumentalist, but yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't. It was new for me. And the artist that she collaborated with was Nubia Garcia, I think is how you say her name. It's a real big, it definitely feels like jazz, but in a theatrical way. Right? Like more, I feel like I'm in a space and in a place at a particular time. So I've kind of been rocking with that. I'm not familiar with any of the artists that contributed to the record. It popped up in something that I was doing, and then I just took a deep dive into it. But definitely worth checking out if you like jazz.
It popped up at work, something you were working on professionally?
No, like I create little playlists on my Apple Music, and then when the playlist runs off, it'll just throw songs at me.
Oh, sure.
And it just happened to be one of those songs that was in there, so I got in and checked out the whole record. It was really nice. The album's called Odyssey.
Okay.
But lots of strings, if you like strings, that kind of thing. It was huge. And I assume it's a label just because of the level of quality on this record.
Yeah, Esperanza Spalding, I mean, she's been around. She's got an interesting story. I think jazz background, had a breakthrough record and won like a Best New Artist Grammy or something, I think. Don't super quote me on that. But this is like 10 years ago. And then it kind of took some time, didn't kind of continue straight down that path. And she's got some great interviews where she talks about this, but kind of took some time to figure out what she wanted out of her career and out of music, and gave herself some space to make some different choices. And
where is she from? Do you know?
I don't off the top of my head.
I should know.
The record label is she's on Concord, which is a very well respected independent jazz record.
Okay.
They have like Butcher Brown and Boney James on them. They're good. Allison Russell's on that, who was on the Orville Peck record. Their artists are frequently at the Blue Note down the street from me all the time.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
Nathaniel Rateliff's on that. Shannon and the Clams, St. Vincent. So it's a pretty big deal.
Got you. Well, it sounds great. It sounds amazing.
I can't wait.
I'm sure it's engineered to perfection. Yeah. But Royce, do you want to make another pick, or shall I take over here?
You should take over.
All right. Well, I got to start at the top of my list, and that is unquestionably Brittany Howard's "What Now." That is my record of the year. I don't always have a record of the year.
Wow.
But I have one this year. It's Brittany Howard. She's so funky. Her songs are so good. The production is really interesting on this one. She builds up these incredible grooves and destroys them almost immediately. I'm really anxious. I hope I can see her live at some point because, with the live band, they groove a little harder, and there's less of the studio trickery, and I like them equally. The live videos are incredible. I also love the production on the record. But I measured, as I started listening in October and thinking about kind of my top tier, hers was the record I kind of measured everything else against. And it's like, does this play in the same arena as Britney? Then it's top tier this year. If it's a notch down, it might still be incredible. But if it can't hang with Britney, then it's A, not S tier.
Well, and it's also another like major label release that kind of defies the popular trend, right? Like that's a sound that you do not expect from like a UMG artist, right? Like, so it's cool. It also, I think that record, like, what was there, like 5 people on it or something like that? It was not a ton of folks.
I know she has a drummer she really likes. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I think he worked on the last one, Jamie, and tours with her when he's available. But yeah, it definitely has the feel. She knows what she wants, and this one, took a while. I think Jamie was 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. But it feels, the compositions feel very considered and thought out, and all the fat has been trimmed, but the performances are a little bit loose and feel very live and just crackle with energy. And I mean, that combination is my sweet spot for sure.
Gotcha. You have
another one
on that record?
Oh, it's fairly short. It's under 40 minutes, maybe under 35. So I definitely just play it from front to back.
Got you. 38.
One more I definitely want to mention, and this is a little bit more of a dark horse. I don't know if anyone else will have this on their list, but shout out, I think, to Reach from the Best Music We Heard episode of the Long Play 2 or 3 years ago. I believe he introduced me to Amber Mark's 3 Dimensions Deep. And Amber, she didn't put out an LP this year, but she put out a bunch of singles. Coming Around Again, Space and Time. Rob, Space and Time would be a good one for the playlist, maybe. Gotcha. Lovely Day. And then just the other week, put out an EP called Lucy's. And, together, if you put it all together, you've got a 10-song mini LP that crushes.
Okay.
And it's R&B. It's very 90s influenced R&B. The vocal performances are incredible. I love her voice. I could just luxuriate in her voice all day long. She's a super compelling performer. If you look up any of the live stuff on YouTube, she's got a Tiny Desk at Home from 2 or 3 years ago. She's got various stuff from this year. Her videos on her own channel from this year are fun, low budget, DIY, looking incredibly sexy.
Can you drop the YouTube channel?
I'll find it for you. I'm pretty sure it's Amber Mark Official or something like that. But yeah, I'll find that for you.
It's Amber Mark 333.
Okay. But yeah, I kind of made an album out of her singles and the Lucy's EP, and I'm calling that in my top tier for the year because I love it that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really loving the YouTube trend of just like putting the song out when it comes out and making the YouTube video like the vehicle, as opposed to waiting for a full album. You know, there's nothing I love more than like hearing from the same artist like 6 or 7 times in a year, as opposed to hearing them like once in the year on one tour. So I love this trend. Like, as much as I love, you know, concept records and full LPs and just putting on one record and listening to it front and back, like, the single-ification effect of YouTube is something that I find as a music lover engaging in a way that I never engaged with an album, with an LP before.
It does force you to bring your A game in a good way, I think.
I like it a lot.
Why do you say it forces you to bring your A game?
Well, you can't, you know, on an album, and I love album tracks and I still almost exclusively listen to albums, but, you know, you've got that 4th or 5th or 6th song that if you put it out on YouTube as a single won't gain traction, right? It doesn't grab you. That doesn't mean it's not a good song necessarily, but
oh, I hear you.
I'm saying it almost makes you work like you're putting out a 45 or something, like in the 60s or 70s, where you've got to, you know, if you want to make it on the jukebox, it's got to slap.
I got you.
Rob, do you want to give us a couple more?
Well, I would say along the lines of the band that just like releases the single when it's done and doesn't wait for the record. I think they were on our 2022 podcast when we did this 2 years ago. It's a band out of Sacramento called well, I think they're out of LA now, but they're called the Toxhards. They were the ones with Angus, the prize-winning hog.
Right, I do remember that.
They have a great tune called Satan's Little Hell Song, and it rips. They just went on this big national tour with Here Come the Mummies, which I love. Here Come the Mummies. They're so much fun. And again, like just like really, really strong musicians. The drummer broke his foot in the middle of the tour. Oh. And so I think 2 of the players had to switch places. So he like played bass and the bass player played drums for every song. Like they're just extremely, extremely versatile individually as musicians, and Satan's Little Hell Song absolutely rips. And it's definitely, when I'm getting some fast miles in a fun car, it's a good track to have playing.
Well, I will check it out. I mean, who could forget Angus the prize-winning hog? I heard that song once and it's seared into my memory. So
yeah, it was truly something. I think another band that I was stoked to see this kind of the single-fication trend is a band called Vista Blue, and they tend to release like EPs and singles. So they'll do like 2 or 3 songs at a time, but they'll do that, you know, over the course of a year. We had a great Halloween record called They Came Back, but the tune that I really gravitated towards this year was Somebody's Favorite Band. And they sound very much kind of sardonic in the theme of They Might Be Giants or you know, B.A. Johnston, like this growing genre of just like pure dork rock that seems to be like at times inspired by, you know, the Johns and They Might Be Giants, but also like Nerf Herder and those kind of bands from the 90s. I really enjoy. It's highly literate lyrics that are just very, very funny, and just playing so many local shows for 20 people, it's a song that just spoke to me in a very specific way, and I think will speak to both of you. When you're gigging it and you're trying to dig the fucking well, like this is the song for you. Like,
has your year of listening, Rob, been? So you've made 4 picks, all of which arguably are comedy. Not to reduce them in Orville Peck, obviously, there's a lot of layers going on there, but has that been a real theme for you this year?
I think given the year that we had, like, I was searching for levity in the media that I consumed. I also think partially it was, I think it was more supply driven than demand driven, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. It feels that comedy was something that a lot of people were leaning on in their creative expression over the course of 2024 for good reason. Alkaline Trio put out a record this year that was really good. It was a really good Alkaline Trio record, and it was a lot of it was funnier than stuff that they've had in the past. You know, they're kind of a darkly serious band, but like the opening single was Hot for Preacher. Like it was kind of tongue in cheek in a way that you wouldn't expect from that band. So I don't know if it's a function of what I was looking for or what we all were looking for as creative people in 2024.
Good point. And I mean it. Royce, what do you have? What are you thinking?
I've kind of been like on, we're working in like Atmos and stuff. So I've been looking for like really big things just to kind of get like a feel and a space for it. This song is actually from 2021, but I discovered it this year. The artist is Fele Nico or Neok or something, I think is his name. The song is Lay Wolf, and it's really kind of like a chant that's happening in this track with a really hard it feels like what do they call that? I forget what it's called. It feels like like it's got an African backdrop to Afrobeat. It almost feels like Afrobeat with a really extremely heavy 808, like just destroying the bass.
How do you spell the artist?
Fallenioke. 2 separate words. Falle. Yeah. And the song is Leywole. And I listened to a lot of his other music, but this one like really spoke to me. It just almost feels visceral. I put it in my like workout playlist. It's like whenever I'm working out and I'm like feel like I want to quit, I play this song. Like gives me a little extra energy. I don't know anything about this guy,
but it sounds good in Atmos.
It does. It does.
That's cool. And I want to affirm for you, there's going to be stuff on my list. Maybe I'll run through it super quick when I get to my turn, but stuff that we discovered this year is very much eligible. That's how I like to do the list. I've kind of done it that way for a long time. And that's why it's the best music we heard, right? Gotcha. It's not necessarily the best music released. I try with mine to focus mostly on the music that was released in the year, but 20-25% of my list will be stuff from previous years.
Yeah, it says he's actually like from Ghana, but now based in the UK.
Ghana's got some incredible musicians.
They sure do. I remember listening to those cassettes that you brought back when we were in college. Those were fun.
I've digitized them all.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Man, I would love to listen to those.
I was gonna say, please share.
So wild.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I will. I can send some stuff to you guys. Royce, during my 2 trips to Ghana, I bought a lot of cassettes.
Okay.
And Yeah, mostly the super popular style at the time was called high life. High life is the style it's based on from the 60s. The style at the time was called hip life, so bringing in American hip hop, merging it with the high life, which was itself a merger of traditional music with funk and soul and a little bit of jazz. And it's super cool now. And I wanna hand back to you for another pick if you want, but like quick, there's some African artists on my list too, and it's super cool to see that coming into the global kind of mainstream. So Thames and Rob, I think you introduced me to Thames a couple of years ago through this whole process. But Born in the Wild is in my top tier for the year. Pa Salu's African Alien, which just came out a couple of weeks ago.
What track off of Born in the Wild did you like the most?
Oh man, I'm not a track guy. The title track works.
Gotcha. Opener, I think the opener is the strongest on that record. Myself,
I'm good with that.
How do you spell that artist name?
TEMS. And we had to spell artist names because this is a podcast, and also, Google doesn't work anymore. Like in the world of generative AI, you can't just search for things and it'll magically find it anymore.
I think, speaking of scams, I'm pretty sure that in Pitchfork's list, which published today as of our recording session, I'm pretty sure they linked to a fraudulent version of the Arouge Aftab album. Because only like 7 people have bought it, and it's not on her main page.
Okay, can we take a little extra time and just do like a bonus episode at the end of this where we just react to their list? Because Pitchfork is so consistently wrong now. Like, they are so wrong all the time.
I felt very old reading the list today. I recognized almost nothing, including I read the site every day still, and it would be interesting to see how many of the records on their top 50 were reviewed on the site, because I recognized very few of them from the year of reading the site.
How the mighty have fallen. The media business is tough, or we're old.
It could be
a combination.
Causes, yeah.
Little from column A, little from column B.
Well, Royce, I want to hand the mic back to you. Do you want to make another pick?
I don't have another pick.
Okay.
I will search through my streams, but I don't have another pick off the top of my head.
Sure thing.
Now.
Oh, we'll circle back in part 2. Maybe I'll make a couple, and we'll move on to part 2 in a minute. Oh man, it's really tough. I guess, let's see, I'm looking at my list. I'm going to pick one that some people may recognize, and one super personal one maybe that goes into my listening for the year. So the one I'll pick that's more recognizable is Kim Deal's debut solo album, Nobody Loves You More. It's everything you could want from a Kim Deal solo project, and plenty of new stuff and new sounds and new textures. Her songwriting, these songs sit with the best of the Breeders and the Pixies and anything else Kim has done. Wow, for a Kim Deal solo record to just hit it out of the park, in my opinion, in 2024, that's a huge blessing. And I think this is a great record that I'm going to be listening to for many years to come.
And wasn't it Steve Albini's last record?
One of, I don't know if it was literally the last, but it was certainly one of the last things he worked on.
Yeah, they just dedicated the corner in Chicago for Electric Audio as Steve Albini Way, and she was there. Fred Armisen, Kim Gordon, and a couple other folks. It was a really moving ceremony. But man, when you think about the production of that Kim Deal record versus like the early like Pixies stuff, like how much he evolved as a producer, using basically the same equipment, like he's always been like just a microphone forward type of producer. He was always like recording to tape. It was always like a live room with as many of the musicians in the same place at the same time. But the sound is dramatically different. And I would agree that record was on my list as well. It's just a really, really powerful thing. It sucks that, she bailed from the Pixies again, but it's good to see, a good chunk of 11 songs that, are close to home.
I think so. Albini's whole thing of I'm just the plumber, and there's some truth.
I'm not sure I ever
shtick.
I didn't buy it. I never bought it.
I think it's half true. I think the half that it doesn't speak to is you don't really have a relationship with your plumber in most cases. But I think his superpower, besides the incredible technical knowledge and everything and experience, was the relationships he had with the artists he worked with, whether it was a long-standing relationship like he had with Kim Deal or a local band who saved up all their money to go to Electrical Audio and spend a week with him, That, I think that's the actual superpower more than the mic placement. As much as I love the sound of the records he worked on, he got great work from artists.
He did. Did you hear that podcast with Conan O'Brien earlier in the year before he passed?
Yeah.
Where he had Dave Grohl and Chris Novoselic and Steve Albini, and they were talking exclusively. I think I texted you it while I was listening to it. I was like on the road, and it struck me like how how he was probably the perfect person to be around Kurt Cobain in that moment. Like he did not coddle this like mega superstar or like try to fix his life. He just tried to get the best possible performance out of that band in that moment. And he did get the best possible performance out of the band at that moment.
Yeah.
In Utero is not going to be everyone's favorite Nirvana record, but I struggled to think of a single other producer that could possibly have gotten that band in that state to finish a record. And he did. And the record was good. It was not great, but it was good.
You don't think In Utero is great?
I do not. The songs are not great.
Okay. Well, that's a different podcast. There's
some songs that are great, but as a record, it was not great. Like look at that playlist. You can't look at that playlist and say that like everything's a banger. Like,
well, I didn't say that everything was a banger.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes a great record is everything's a banger. Like Frances Farmer will have her revenge on Seattle. Like, who the fuck cares about that song? Like, that song is garbage.
That's one way to have a great record.
Penny Royalty, garbage. like there were some trash songs on that record, and that's because the guy was on the way out, You're
digging a hole, man.
I don't
okay. Well, let's leave it with an appreciation of Steve Albini. I'll open next week's episode with what I was gonna talk about. I mean, straight up, I'm gonna miss Steve. I have no personal connection with him, of course, but the records he helped create are things I listen to a lot. They've informed my own record making, and I'm really sad that he's gone. I'm sad for his family and people who knew him.
I had tickets to the New York show for Shellac, and I was like, man, I don't even like Shellac, but I just want to. They never ever 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 leave Chicago, so I was just like, I just wanted to see him live, and yeah, what a loss.
Yeah. Happier times next week on Dat Fury Radio. Thanks for listening. We'll be back at you next Tuesday.